It's you.
Come on, Jim.
Whatever.
Okay, we're on?
Yes.
Okay, it's 2:30, and we have our Board of Elections monthly meeting. We have a quorum. Everybody's here. Welcome, everybody. I just wanted to say before we begin, as you all know, the governor signed the early voting site in Potomac, and I wanted to thank everybody. That was truly a bipartisan success. It went through both houses of the legislature without a dissenting vote, and the governor signed it, and I wanted to thank everybody. That's an excellent example of how Democrats and Republicans can work together for the good of the community.
And we did get pens provided.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
so we each got a pen from the governor's office.
yes.
How about that?
I know.
Personally
you
use
look
each
at it.
Very
one
nice.
of them.
Oh, thank you, Governor.
Did it?
Yes.
How do you know?
Well, as soon
Did
as
he?
I was there, I thank you now.
I can add it to
Don't
my.
put
David, did we
Dementia.
I just thanked everybody for the
Don't
10th
forget
early
the
voting
dementia.
site that the governor signed.
Okay.
And we got a pen.
Oh,
From the governor's office.
Depends on the
Okay, Jim.
governor, awesome.
Okay, so we're going to begin the meeting.
Thank you.
Two quick things before we begin. Is Margaret here? Okay. I wanted to, Alex has an emergency at work, so he's going to be leaving shortly. So I wanted to move up the discussion on the bylaws up front. And I wanted to thank David and Mary Ann for, drafting that and getting it to us. So we can move that up, Margaret?
David,
And we're going to have an executive session after the meeting, at the end of the meeting tonight,
That's correct,
regarding litigation, possible litigation.
correct.
Okay.
Mr. President, are we going to be discussing the bylaws before the approval of the minutes?
Yes, but what we're going to do first is, we have to elect the canvas
Canvas
officers, so
officer, right,
Nahid has,
Right, Margie?
Correct.
Okay.
so Nahid, you
Margaret?
wanted to say something?
Yes, I want to nominate Mr. Shalek as chair and Ms. Keith as the secretary of the Board of Campus.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you all.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank.
We want to do you want to go right to the bylaws, Alex?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
fine.
yes.
yeah.
Okay. David and Mary Ann provided us proposed.
Was really David. I
David.
think I had a word in there.
Yeah, no,
but,
the only
yeah.
thing when I looked at it was, it separated the two issues. The only concern I had, and I called Kevin, when it said that there was a gathering of 3 board members, I was concerned that, does that mean that the three of us couldn't have lunch together? Or, go to a political event together? And I think Kevin has some comment on that.
I do. The Open Meetings Act does address that the act does not apply to either a chance encounter, a social gathering, or any other occasion that's not intended to circumvent the Open Meetings Act. So the act itself does address your concern that you raised.
Well, no, I wanted to, Alex called me because he has to leave, he's got an emergency at work, but Alex had some thoughts, overall thoughts on this.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I think, and I appreciate David's efforts to put this together, and I think there may well be some merit in trying to clarify this. I guess one of the issues I have is that the current bylaws don't actually say what a meeting is. It says a quorum is necessary. I don't know, do we want to actually specify what a meeting actually is? And if we do, I'm concerned that gathering may be too broad or too ambiguous, and precisely for that reason, that it might suggest something that it could encompass things that we understand and the Open Meetings Act wouldn't really contemplate being a meeting. So, maybe there's another term that we should use to indicate that instead of gathering. I think it's too broad as it is now. The other concern I have is this language about including a substitute member in circumstances in which the substitute member's vote would count. I'm not sure exactly what that means, and I think that maybe we should try to think out here about, are there any circumstances where a substitute member's vote wouldn't count? Because I suppose, let's say you had a situation
There's
where
one.
Mrs. Keefe, Mr. Shalek, and Mrs. Phillips all gathered together. Under the Open Meetings Act, I suppose you could say that constitutes a meeting, but that rests on the assumption that because they are the only ones present, that Mrs. Phillips would be able to vote, I guess, is what you're saying. So it might be worth trying to
Well,
clarify.
probably some language to the effect of official, where business is transacted or something, strikes me in defining a meeting or a gathering.
Well, my thought was that when it says it's subject to the Open Meetings Act, that the Open Meetings Act already says that it has, under the act, that certain things are required and certain things are not, and I believe that it specifically addresses the question of social gatherings and all of that. I use the word gathering, I believe, I have to look for it, but I try to take language directly from the Open Meetings Commission to try, and I figured that attempting to come up with my own definition was fraught with all kinds of issues, so I was trying to just stick to the kind of existing definitions that are out there. But certainly, I agree that the more clarity we can have, the better. I do think there's really only one circumstance of a 3 board members together where it would not apply, where the substitute members would not be in a situation where they could where they would make a difference to the Open Meetings Act, and that's if the 3 minority members get together.
I agree with that.
I mean, otherwise, any 3 members would, of any kind, I think would trigger it. I don't view this. I know Alex has other obligations. I don't view this as being an urgent matter. I know that it was brought up as being preferable to have some kind of a clarification, and if we want to spend some more time on fine-tuning it, that's certainly fine with me. I think that we're governed by these rules regardless, whether we put them into the bylaws or not. And I know we have a lot of other things to do as well.
I don't know the protocol, but can I ask to table it?
How about till next month? Can we do that?
I don't even think you need to.
After the election, maybe.
I don't think you even need to table it because it hasn't been moved. Right. So I think we could just
Let's say, I think Mary Ann's idea is good. After the
Postpone
election.
it.
Okay.
just as long as, the record is clear that, we obviously follow what the rules are regardless of whether it's in our bylaw.
Absolutely.
That's...
Exactly. Okay, so we'll table it.
Not table.
Okay, so
We
now,
don't table it, but we don't have a motion to
no,
table.
we're not
There
gonna.
hasn't
We
been a
will
just
put it
gonna-
on a future agenda.
Oh, we're gonna.
There we go.
Okay, so we're gonna
Move to our regular.
go to the minutes, approval of minutes from February. I'm sorry.
Can I just want to bring this up. Did we have the election of Jared?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes,
We already did it when you were not here, Margaret.
yeah, it was a unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Me and
Sorry.
Mary. And we moved up. Well, we moved that up already.
Minute,
So now we're gonna go to the meeting minutes.
yes.
Approval of the minutes from February 22nd, 2016. Is there a motion?
I move to accept the minute.
Second? Is there a second?
Is she talking about the ones that I submitted with my comment?
Oh, you want to do it before? Okay,
Well,
don't second.
The only one on the agenda is February 22nd.
Right, what I'm saying is that if she's moving it with the
As
suggestions
the
that I forwarded in advance, then I would second.
With changes?
That's the one in front of us.
Well, the one that we have in front of us, is
Right,
that
yeah, that's the one with the
track your
changes.
changes?
Yeah.
I don't know, I haven't had a chance to
Yes.
look at it. I believe it does, yes.
Yeah, that's the one that they have in front of them.
Okay,
They're always
I second
divided
it.
It's
with
track
the latest
changes.
Will the
I-
comments actually stay here? or
No,
will
no,
it be a
no,
clean
no.
version? Okay.
No.
And the one letter
Yes,
is in there.
and I just want to note that there was a,
Except
yeah,
one
hold on
of
a
your
second.
questions, letters or one letter.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
on
Yeah, I
page
said
6, Margaret had asked that a statement be kept as is before
Page
the
6.
recommended
Well,
change in that.
what's the,
It's in blue.
I understand, I'm trying to read what it said before, and
So what does Margaret want? It's hard to, which way did she want it?
I
want it just the way it was in,
Originally.
Originally.
right, but the way that I made it was the way it was actually said.
So means the
I guess
secrecy of
I
things
disagree.
would not reveal things
Okay, I don't have a
until
problem.
midnight.
If she
Ms.
said
Jurgensen
it-
stated that to maintain the secrecy of the election results would not be released until after midnight on the day after a special election.
So does that mean that you go through all of Wednesday and the results are,
You go through all of Tuesday, and then Wednesday at 12:01, you release results.
then I believe that what you're suggesting to keep says something different. It says after midnight on the day after a special election. The special election,
Well, the day after the special election would be Wednesday, and after midnight would be the first 2 minutes of that Wednesday, right?
And that's the intent of the maker of the legislative amendment that requested that the results be released
After midnight.
Until after midnight.
So the day after the election would be Wednesday, after midnight would be the first
Is
minute or
there,
two.
is there some way that we could make this clearer? Because either way, we're leaving some ambiguity for people as to what it means. I
We
agree.
could attach the amendment to the minutes.
No, I'm thinking of something that would be much less involved than that and doesn't require people to read the amendment. I'm thinking that if we could say,
Why can't you just say after midnight on the day of the special election?
that's what I thought I had put, but apparently, technically, after midnight is no longer on the day of the special election, it's on the next day. So basically what we're saying is we're saying X number of hours after the polls close, is really what we're talking about.
So if the election's on Tuesday, the results would be announced.
Wednesday, 12:01
All right.
a.m.
So basically, 4 hours and 1 minute after the polls close.
Well, of course, what if the polls are ordered by court to remain open? We don't know. It's a possibility.
Unless
What
otherwise
Margaret just said, that clarifies it. At 12:01, the day after the election, a.m. Just put an a.m. in there.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
On
12:01 a.m.
12:01 a.m. on the Wednesday after,
Wednesday, 21 a.m.
on the day after the election.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay, Margaret?
Yeah.
Is that good, Margaret? Right then.
Right, after
12:01 a.m. on the day after the election.
Right.
Thank you.
Special election.
It would be released until after 12:01 a.m. Right? It's not mandating exactly what time, but it would be after 12:01.
Yeah, the word after
after
still
12,
stays.
oh, right,
Right.
01 a.m. on the day after a special election.
Now, I know you've got your hand up, and I apologize.
That's
Now,
okay.
he made a motion, but I did not hear a second to the
David
motion.
did.
David seconded it,
Okay,
yeah.
I apologize.
And we're having discussion.
Yeah.
I apologize because I didn't get back to you all. It's very minor, but, and I did not, I didn't have the time to listen to the tape, but I'm really questioning on page 12, at the top, where I'm discussing the wheelchairs. It says, she suggested that the board consider it and see if there would be a need for wheelchairs at early voting sites. What I believe I was saying was not whether there was a need, but that whether there was a way to have wheelchairs at the early voting sites.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
I was looking at it as a a sort of a pilot, if you
Right,
will,
right,
for before we tried to do it into the others.
How about if it were to say if there could be wheelchairs at early voting sites?
Or if wheelchairs could be provided.
Yes, that's even better.
Right.
Perfect.
So how does it,
If,
To
so-
see if wheelchairs could be provided at early voting sites.
you okay with
So
that?
it's as
that's
amended.
perfect, thank you.
The minutes as amended.
I also want, just one more thing I wanted to mention, which is, it's hard to read on this copy, but on page 8, I did actually do a strikeout for the S in letters, consistent with Jim's comment, but
And I also made
yeah.
note that Jim
Yeah,
also
it's- yeah, it's
one
hard-
letter.
it's hard to see that that's what I did, but I actually did try to change it to singular.
One
Good.
letter.
Yeah, it was one letter, thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to also note that Jim had also
Right, thanks.
requested that.
Yes.
Yes.
Any other discussion?
That's it.
Okay, with the amendments announced and taken, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, minutes are approved.
Okay, Mr. President, you will need to have an executive session to deal with potential litigation and contract issues.
Okay, we'll do that at
8
the
and
end.
14.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Do we have any public comments, Lisa?
All right.
No public comments? Okay, Margaret, your report?
Personnel, we have some new personnel in the call center, which started today. They were training last week. Allison, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you covered it. I mean, the call center has started taking calls. They've got, we have, Jessica, can you speak to
The call center does have 2 bilingual staff that are here, and then we also have a 3rd bilingual person who's helping to fill in if we need additional staff. And then we also have 3 other agents taking calls in the call center. And they are ramping up. I think we should take a few more calls on Friday.
Also, just for your knowledge, the state board's call center will activate on April 13th.
And the purpose of the call center is just to answer questions generally that the public may have about
Any kind
the
of
new
question.
voting system?
Any kind of voting system, am I registered to vote, where do I vote, where's the early voting center,
What's
how
that
long
phone
the
number?
lines are. It's 240-777-VOTE. The
It's
state is
663.
1-800-222-VOTE.
So the
It's
person answering,
overflow and incoming calls, so that our staff are then freed up to do the data entry and the work that needs to go on the back end of those ringing phones.
but somebody answering can actually
yeah.
check while the person's on the phone whether someone's registered or not, and political party and polling place and all that.
We certainly can. We have one of our voter registration staff supervising in the room where we have those individuals answering phones, and we've been making a redoubled effort to spend some quality time answering questions, doing Q&A. Jessica's been doing a lot of that with the staff.
Sorry, Margaret, when did you say it started? The State Board of Elections? When was
April
it?
13th.
April 13th.
And that's it, personnel. Budget, Margie Rohr.
Sent to you in advance was the latest spreadsheet through February 29th, showing expenditures year to date. We are just about at the halfway mark on our budget, which is appropriate for this time of year, and I will be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
The item 61932,
What number is that?
61932.
It's under rentals and leases, the
Yes.
last item.
Okay.
Yes,
We have $280,000 negative. Are you
Yes.
going to get money?
yes, this will be handled as a year-end transfer, and the reason it is in a deficit is, as you know, we were not funded with
Are we
any.
getting the $13,000 for veteran from the council, which they promised they will provide us?
Again, it's my understanding from discussions with OMB staff that we'll handle that through a year-end transfer.
You know, that's the
once we-
most expensive center
I
in
understand.
the state of Maryland.
What
I'm
is?
sure in the United States.
We,
The veteran early voting center is $13,000.
I don't think that's what this is referring
No,
to.
no, no,
No.
that was
Oh.
finished.
No,
She
no.
answered that one. I just
Oh,
asked
oh,
her
oh.
the question. She said she can cover it with her own check.
No, we can't. The county will.
For the record, no, I did not.
But where did we come up with the 93,000 figure? Is that what we've used in the past? And
The 93,000 was what was encumbered, that was not expended in FY15. And it was encumbered at the end of the fiscal year, and that's the encumbrance from FY15 that rolled into FY16.
otherwise it would have been zero.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Margie.
Also, for your information, this is not in your packet, so I'm going to distribute it now, is a chart showing the FY17 County Executive recommended budget. Have it broken down, and the things I want to point out are under the approved competition list. Our FY16 original appropriation was $6,556,351. In the approved competition list items, we received a total of $1 million for the new voting system, $154,461 for election judge stipends, $93,481 for voting system ballots, election judge stipends for the 10th early voting site, $25,600, and $73,610 was something that the Office of Management and Budget put in there as a result of a union lawsuit regarding reclassifications. I honestly don't have any information on that that was something that was put in there. So I don't know if Margaret has anything else she can say on that, but I'm not aware of any information on specifics on that.
The union sued the county with regards to longtime use of temporary employees, and really and truly, that's as far as I know, and we haven't had an opportunity to go over what the result of the...
Are we the only people that use long-time employees?
No.
So this was, whatever the suit was, that it was whacked up between some other agencies too?
There was, yeah, more than one
Yes,
agency.
HHS. and
Yeah.
other agencies.
Okay.
And actually, ours only come periodically.
No, that's
No.
not true. We have temporaries. We had one temporary that worked for the Board of Elections for 16 years solid.
But no current
Full-time?
system?
Yeah. HHS has some employees that have been there for 14, 16 years, full time.
But they
Not
don't-
just during election
And
periods
they
or
don't,
something.
do they get hospitalization and all of those things?
No,
they
of course
don't?
No
not.
benefits.
So they're
That's why-
contract employees,
Yes.
basically.
No, they're
No.
not contract employees.
No.
It's,
Are we dealing in semantics here?
No.
Hourly
Boy,
paid
that's
is
so
worked.
good.
it's,
Hourly paid is worked.
Oh, okay. As opposed to a
No
contract
benefits.
that they've got ahead of time. All right.
Hmm.
I mean, it's been identified since 2005 as that we are structurally deficit, that we had a structural deficit in our personnel. And when I first came here in 2001, we had 2, and there was some sort of recession, and they took them away. And then this was identified, and it's been a long issue with the county. And the specifics, HR has not gotten to us about.
And then, of course, you recall we had to identify some reduction items in the budget, and they were all accepted. $99,600 from MD voters, $25,380 from imaging, and $6,148 from facility maintenance, which nets us right now with the county executive recommended budget for FY17 of $7,856,590.
And how does this look in terms of what we need?
Well, you'll recall that we've been told by the state, I'll focus on the voting system. We've been told by the state to expect to be invoiced in the neighborhood of $2 million in FY17, and we've been funded $1 million.
Yeah, that's what I was-
So
but-
from right off the bat, we're potentially looking at a $1 million deficit.
The election judge stipends,
Those will give us the additional number of election judges that have been requested, so that we will have sufficient judges in the polling places to help keep things moving along.
that's good, that's an important one.
And of course, they gave us money for the voting, for the ballots.
And Margie, is that level to sustain what Leslie thinks should be the proper number that we should have
No.
or shoot for, or no?
No,
Okay.
I can answer that
Oh,
question.
okay.
It is not. It is, in 2008, when we had an open presidential seat, we had 4,500 judges. Now, the difference between 2008 and 2016 is we have early voting. But the fact of the matter is that what we really need is 3,600 to 3,800 judges. Now, that assumed, dangerously, that we were going to get additional equipment. On Friday, the budget passed the Senate, and I believe it's going over to the House, and we did not get any additional equipment for the general election. So
We didn't get the second scanner for some precincts?
that's correct. I submitted the board's original request, and then I had to modify that according to the state to get the number down. And then the state, then the legislature, they wanted us to do a bare bones request, which we ended up going down to 155 DS200s, and they still said no.
But this 154,000, is that
It's
enough to fund 3,600 judges?
No,
It's
it'll
not.
fund about 32 to 3,300 judges. We believe that what it will do is it will add an average of 2 for election day, which is where traditionally you have the biggest lines, 2.5 judges across the board. So the average precinct has about 12 to 14 judges, depending on certain needs factors. So we would be able to, we believe we would be able to add two full-time judges and a part-time. So
Per precinct?
per precinct, 233 precincts.
I would like to suggest that we be prepared, not do it, but be prepared to send a letter to the state and to the county executive saying, if in fact we don't get what we need, and it turns out to be a very difficult election, I'm trying not to say we told you so, that we didn't get what we asked for, and that we
Well-
knew what we needed, but we didn't get it.
Well, one thing that we could do right now, because it hasn't gone to the House, is to send a letter to the governor and the Ways and Means Committee. Is it Ways and Means? The budget?
The correct.
Okay, Ways and Means.
But it's already
to-
left the House, right? You said, I thought you said that the House.
That's the Senate,
I
she
thought the
said.
Senate.
It left the Senate,
It left
yeah,
the
no,
Senate.
it was the Senate.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we can send a letter to the governor and ask that it be included in his budget to get, whatever that we believe that we need additional equipment.
Adequate. Adequate is the word.
believe it's
That
appropriation.
get up to adequate. We're not asking for anything extra.
So I'm assuming we were not the only ones who did not.
Prince George's County is requesting additional equipment, and I believe, but I can't swear, Anne Arundel asked for more equipment.
Margaret, one other question.
Can't
You
hurt
were
to
saying
ask.
that this 154 would fund 2 full-time plus 1 part-time additional judges
On
per
top.
precinct based on what we had?
What we have planned to utilize in the primary.
Okay.
Again, keeping in mind that you're looking at, about 60 to 65% of voter turnout on election day. Another 20% are going to be, 17 to 20% are going to vote either early voting or absentee. So it's going to be, they're going to be busy. And even with the students, and Alberto has about 6 or 8 kids working 4 shifts. At least 2 young adults, teenagers,
At all 10 places?
at all of the at election day precincts.
Really, at each one?
That's great.
That's wonderful.
For the general. I don't think he
Oh,
has
for the
quite
general.
that many for the primary, but he definitely has students there for the peak periods. So that'll add some additional help. But as, most of you were in the room when I talked to the county executive about what the strong need we have for election judges. Because 20% of the people that are going to show up on election day will not have been there for 4 years, maybe 8. And they will be completely befuddled by what they're seeing and what they have to do. So there's a lot more hand-holding. And I don't know, Allison, do you want to talk about the first time you guys deployed your new voting system in DC?
Well, it's not directly comparable because they had a paper-based voting system previously.
Okay.
But I mean, certainly, when Margaret previously worked in a jurisdiction that had paper ballots as well, and as did Leslie, several people on the staff have, Jessica did. So, I mean, we're certainly attuned to that and very concerned about the need to have, we just know that this is going to be a hands-on election for people.
Well,
People need to be walked through
as
the
great as
process.
the outreach has been, and I think it has been, I've been, very impressed with I can't tell you, there isn't a day that I don't get into conversations with people, and no one knows there's going to be a different system. I mean, it's like, what? We are? So, yeah.
And what do you mean paper ballot? I keep hearing. What do you mean paper ballot? My grandfather did paper ballot. Just a comment. Don't put it in the minutes.
Well, I can't hurt to ask.
Which are we asking, the governor?
And the Ways and Means Committee, right?
Oh,
Well,
I think both. I think
Let's
both.
make sure it's the right committee.
Okay,
Yeah.
I really don't know, but let
Might
me
be-
get a hold of Kathleen and Melanie, and, so, I might wanna make sure that I'm clear.
Somebody staff drafted and sent it
Yes.
around to us?
Yes,
And I think
and
they're-
to the governor
both.
also?
Both,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I can call his office too.
Okay, we'll work something up. Can I utilize the talents of our attorney here?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. All right.
So we're going to do two letters, one to the appropriate legislative
Okay,
and the governor.
okay. All right,
Let me ask you one other thing, and I defer to others who have more experience. In terms of the budget we have, can we move things around at our own discretion?
not really.
Well, we moved some money into outreach at our last board
No,
meeting.
but, you
Yeah.
know, if you think there's a critical need in an area as we get closer to the election, can we just take money from column A and put it in column B?
We can move within operating. We cannot move from personnel to operating. But we can move within operating.
Okay.
Do you have something special in mind?
No, I mean, these critical needs, you know, I mean, priority, you know.
Any other questions on?
Yes, would you quickly tell me about imaging? What's that do, 25,000 reduction to do it our imaging?
It's not going to do anything, because last fiscal year, we only spent about 8,000 for the entire fiscal year. And this is a fiscal year where we have many other things that we're going to be working on, and by the time we would have all of the work done on the election and be able to refocus on imaging, the amount we have would be sufficient.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thanks, Marjorie.
Okay, April 4, we're scheduled to appear before the County Council Government Operations Committee work session to discuss this budget.
April
Proposed April 4th. We have an early
Sad.
session because of the election. Very, very early in comparison to
early?
normally. April. No, I mean, it's at 9:30.
She meant early in the season.
Early in the session. Normally, the budget goes all the way through May, but you guys were going to be in the canvas.
We asked for late, and instead they gave us early.
So April
So,
4th is
April 4th at 9:30 in the morning,
I'm sorry, is what meeting?
with the
Our budget.
Government Operations Committee budget work session for FY17.
And do you need anything from us? Do you need people there, or do you all do this just in work session kind of
No,
manner?
you should be there.
9 o'clock.
And testify, be there, Jim ready to talk? I mean, what do you, would you?
Well, it'll be like other work sessions. We'll appear before the committee. They'll have questions to ask about the budget, and if there's specific issues that you think need to be addressed, that's the time for the board to bring it up with the council.
Is it the full council or just our committee?
No, it's just the
The
government operations. of
And how
fiscal
long does
policy.
that usually last?
Well, I wouldn't think it would go, I mean, there's 5 items that morning, so I can't imagine it would go much past a half an hour.
Oh, okay.
And we're the first one?
Are we?
Yes.
Okay. we're first.
As of last week, I mean, their agenda changes weekly, but as of last week, we were number 1 at 9:30. Third floor council conference room.
Third floor.
Third floor conference room.
Yeah, the little room in the back. Thank you.
Okay.
Voter registration?
All right, voter registration, monthly statistics been posted, processing is current. We have about 10,000, unfortunately, we don't have that. We have about 10,800 absentee ballot requests that have come through the system. Of that, about 50% of them are ballots that will have to be duplicated, probably on the first day of the absentee canvass. There have been approximately 900 in person. Of that, 850 of those are nursing homes, so we've had like about less than 50 people walk in to vote. We also have in your packet an updated high school drive spreadsheet that was provided to me this morning by Lolita, telling us of between the two programs, how many kids have registered to vote. We still have no activity at Damascus, Poolsville, or Winston Churchill.
Or Bethesda.
Is
Well,
that
you got
because
one.
the schools are not cooperating with it, or because just no kids
Well,
there?
actually,
want
there's
to
also
register?
Mercury.
Well, you know, I don't, unfortunately, Herberto's not here today because of a family situation. So he will, I can have him put something together for you. Unless Jessica wants to, do you want to jump in?
I do know that a request has been made to every high school on behalf of Roberto's team to have a type of outreach event. I know he hasn't necessarily received a confirmation of a confirmed date back in those responses.
Who in the high school is he asking?
He's working with his Future Vote students to get in touch with their sponsors within the organization, but he's also drafted emails and sent them out as well.
Because when we met with the school superintendent, the interim school superintendent, he made clear that he wanted everyone to participate. And I'm thinking that if he were to make that clear to his staff, that it's quite likely to happen.
We did forward last month's high school numbers to the direct report to the survivors.
Who was that?
I do not know the name of that person off the top of my head. I can certainly tell you. I
Yeah.
can send you an email, but
Yeah, please
yes,
do.
they have been notified.
Okay.
As I recall, there was going to be one person assigned in each of the schools, right? That would be the coordinator, so that our folks would know, Roberto, and who to go to, that was going to coordinate both ends of things, the registration as well as the future vote.
Leslie.
I know from talking to Roberto that with the students, those that are active, he's been able to get them to get an event scheduled. His second effort is through the business managers, the individual business managers at each school. That's the focus.
And I think he's even going to take a final attempt, not to speak for him, but to send an actually pointed date communication to him and say, you want to come on this date versus
Well, to whom?
to the business managers.
How about to the principal? I mean, you know, the
Thing is, we're running out of time.
The person who's in charge.
I actually made a call to the principal of Clarksburg High School when I saw them that they were not being very responsive.
What high school?
Clarksburg, where my kids went, and one of them is
They're
going.
responsive now.
And they're very responsive now. It's 125, so I think I'd be happy to make the rest of the calls.
Yeah,
with zero
seriously.
here.
Okay.
A question, under John F. Kennedy, it says 9 plus 47 and it gets to 56. That one I understand. Under Richard Montgomery, it says 21 plus 6 and then it says 73. Do we have any idea what that means?
Jessica?
Which form are you referencing?
Chart from today. The one that Lolita sent.
Yeah. But I don't see the.
Right
Oh,
after-
9 plus 6. I think that some of the schools have had more than one event.
Right, but for John F. Kennedy, when you add them together, you get to their total, and for Richard Montgomery, you add them together, and you're still 40-some short.
You know, I think there were several events at Richard Montgomery because
There were, I
Richard
remember
Montgomery, there have been several events, and one of the events, one of the things that we do with the students is to have them bring food for MANA, food bank, and that high school produced the highest number, I mean, per poundage, 800 pounds of food.
Great.
So there must be something missing there. So, but I will get back to Roberto and Lolita and find out what
And
we
I
have.
think the 21+6 were from future vote events, and I think the additional that got to that 73 were actually from the high school drive that the school did.
Well, then it would be useful to get that broken out for all the schools. I mean, so we know what we're looking at. I mean, is it, because it's titled High School Drive. So if it's not High School Drive, that would be useful. My own suggestion would be that anyone who's in the single digits, there should be a call or a contact with the leadership at the school, meaning the principal.
David, I agree with you, but in addition to that, I'm sitting here thinking that in these high schools, they run the graduating class is going to be 500 at minimum at most of the high schools in the county. And to have 56 people register to vote out of 500, which would be
Well,
about the right
You know, last month we did, there was a graph that was included that talked about the number of kids that registered to vote, which is the vast majority through motor voter
Yeah,
and the
that's the thing.
online voter registration. These events where we set up a table and skirt and bring kids, you know, in. Now, I know that there was an event scheduled because I talked to the mother who was going to meet one of our people that was managing that location. And I believe they're at Winston Churchill today and tomorrow. But I'm not, you know, it's like one of the 1,000 phone calls that I've gotten recently.
And they are on the outreach calendar.
Are they?
And
Okay.
we're going to be there later.
Okay,
Well-
so we have these two events coming up.
My reaction, Jackie, is I agree with you that it's very hard to kind of analyze the numbers because the overall numbers should be much higher, but there's also plenty of high school kids who don't get their driver's license until later. And so you can't rely on any one of these methods for registration. You can't rely on motor voter exclusively, et cetera. So the idea that they're zeros or one, to me is a sign that they're not making the effort. And so that's why I was, and when we shared that information with Mr. Bowers, this was a year ago? It was a long time ago.
It's in the fall.
I thought it was before the fall, but whatever the case, it was a long time ago. He made very clear that he thought that everyone should be participating in one form or another. And I just hope that we do whatever is necessary in order to follow up on that. And if it turns out that it's not fruitful, then it's not fruitful. But it's hard to believe that there's nobody in the whole school who would benefit from this. I know that there are students who don't get their driver's license, but they still register to vote.
But there are
yeah.
students that get a Maryland identification because they need it for other things. So they are interacting with motor vehicles. So while you are correct, they do not get a driver's license or they do not get a learner's permit. They do get an MVA ID, and so they are captured in that
Well-
process. We will get more specific information for next month's meeting.
There are plenty of students who do not have an MVA-issued ID. And I would not want to operate on the assumption that they do.
Churchill's event is today. I'm just looking it up right now.
When was the drive supposed to be?
It's today.
No, but when is the drive?
Take care.
I thought we said that there were certain dates for the drive.
There's
And,
certain dates for
Um,
what the school system itself was coordinating, and
and
then
when,
this is
and
our
when,
second
and
round.
when was that?
That was back in
December?
December, January.
Okay.
And now we're back
So
with
this is the
future
second
vote.
round of contact that we're making to catch up to the schools that did not participate earlier, that did not provide.
Okay.
Forms
What
earlier.
are we doing in Poolsville, Magruder, and Damascus?
That's what I'm
Magruder
checking to see.
is
Magruder's
scheduled.
tomorrow. Looks like
Late lunch.
scrolling through all of our outreach events to find when Damascus is, but I'm sure that that's, if I find it here in a minute, I'll let you know. Otherwise, I'm sure they're on trying to get that arranged.
we had
Can we get back to you with regards to the Damascus and other locations?
Yes.
This is a
Yes.
good.
There's been a great uptick in registration, like some places, other places have had. There've been just general, not kids, just general registration.
Yes, there's always an uptick right before.
But
the
larger than normal.
No,
It's like some counties, some states, thank you.
no. Okay, going further, the State Board of Elections, looking at the agenda, the web delivery ballots were posted on March 17th for those individuals that had requested web delivery. Military overseas ballots were sent on March 11th. Rundeck has started sending ballots out this Monday. They were going to try to get some out on Friday.
Are they the right ones this year?
The printer has started printing ballots. We're expecting, as I said when we were downstairs, we've received about 80% of them. We're very close to having it finalized this week. The software for early voting, same-day voter registration, it was promised today to be delivered this week. So we're hoping
This is,
the same-day voter registration, election day, same-day voter registration, early voting.
and this is
software.
why none of the early voting judges have received training yet.
The voting operations, early voting judges have been in, and we've had, how many classes?
Oh, I don't remember.
2 or 3?
We've got several hundred trained already.
Okay.
For
We
early
don't-
voting?
Chief
Yeah,
judges,
VOP.
the chief judges have not been trained, and the first class is on the 28th. So we will begin the process of training our chief judges. We have them identified. We have all the chief judges that we need to cover all 8 days for all 10 locations. So that part's good.
When is that training?
But they,
When is that training?
March 28th.
March
begins.
28th, it begins.
but those who have been trained, have not seen the
They're
same-day
not-
registration.
No.
They're not doing same-day voter registration. We're bringing in a separate set of people to do nothing but
But-
same-day
oh,
voter
okay.
registration. And their
They use
training
a separate-
begins
a separate
April,
software.
yeah,
The poll books are
April, I'm sorry, April, what did you say?
I think it's April.
April what?
6th, I
for
think.
early voting?
No, the new set of people for,
Oh, well, the
Registration.
same-day voter registration, VOP clerks
6th.
will be in the week of April 4th or April 6th as the day that we're starting them. And there'll be 3 days of training, then they'll come back the next week and do some final, and then they start April 14th. They'll show up the night before with all the other judges to set up the polling place, become identified, know who their center manager is, and then on April 14th, they will be there. Okay? So, yes, you're right. The voting operations judges have not been trained on same-day voter registration, but to get around that, we're just hiring same-day voter registration clerks. That's all they'll be trained for, and we're waiting, and that way, with the late training date, hopefully the state will have their act together by then.
How many do you envision of those people at each of the early voting sites? Just one?
Yes.
One person dealing with same-day registration?
That should be enough.
Right. Just
Even
one.
at the big busy ones?
Yes. If we get really busy, we're gonna send our staff. We'll pull someone out of voter registration, and they'll have to go down there.
And then the chiefs and the center managers
Oh, yeah,
will
the
also
chiefs
be
and the
trained.
center managers will also know how to do it too.
And what-
Especially the center
And
managers.
the chiefs will be trained separately on early voting, on the same day
They're
registration,
gonna be
or they're gonna be
this Saturday,
trained?
or the 28th, they will be exposed to same. We have the training material, we have a dating base. We just are waiting for the final software.
Wow.
Okay, so they'll be trained, and if, okay.
Margaret, I'm sorry. May I go back and ask a question that came about the absentee ballot requests. 50% of them, of the 10,800 requests that we have today, you estimate is needing to be duplicated. What's that based on?
They requested web delivery. So that's the ballot that you go online, you download it, and then
Yeah.
they send it to us, and then we can either use the ballot wizard, if, use the ballot wizard to download it. And I think you and Jackie sat in the room while they downloaded that. And I know a couple people.
That thing
maybe
you put the little,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but as you know, people mark the ballot after they've used the ballot wizard, so we have to sometimes keep duplicating. And just because we get so many of them, we also hand duplicate, which you also are, everyone but Jim is familiar with. Okay?
You will be.
So fax and fax ballots, we've also fax ballots, sometimes military guys use those.
Mm-hmm. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Signs. The good news is today we were notified that the signs, bilingual signs that we're supposed to post are supposed to be posted at noon today. I haven't had time to check and see if those signs did get posted. As soon as we double check them, then we will get them to the print shop to get printed so they can be packaged. As I said earlier, I found out Friday night that no monies have been included in the state board's budget to lease additional equipment, but we are going to send letters. And the MD voters upgrade has been completed. So hopefully MD voters will stay the same for the next 6 weeks or getting us through the election process. Is there any other questions with regards to the state board? We are going to go into the voting system later. Okay? All right, then legislation?
Legislation. Thankfully, the county has an Office of Intergovernmental Relations because we are relying heavily on their staff to be able to actually work on this legislation since we're immersed in the operational details of preparing for the election. You have the 6-page printout of all of the bills and their status. The only ones that I want to draw attention to specifically are, well, first off, as Jim mentioned earlier, House Bill 204 passed. The governor signed it, thankfully, last week, because within a few days after that, we were finalizing the data for logic and accuracy testing that relied on having the information for the 10th early voting site confirmed in there, and the presses were rolling on our sample ballots. So that was good timing, and we were able to get the accurate information out last week. The House Bill 1008 also has to do with early voting, the last text on that I saw, it still says that the good news is that we would get to go up to 11 early voting sites. The bad news is that you have no flexibility on that, nor would Prince George's County. It's a straight population threshold for each of the number of sites for each of the, so that I would say we need to keep an eye on that. I know in the past there were reasons why we ended up with some discretion because our county and Prince George's County didn't necessarily see eye to eye in terms of how many early voting sites we wanted to have. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that discussion. I'm not entirely sure if Prince George's County in particular is ready to go up to 11 early voting sites in the gubernatorial cycle, the gubernatorial primary. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that one. But that has passed third reading in the House. It was 95 to 45 was the vote count on that one. House Bill 1007, Margaret may be in a better position to speak to than I am. I just saw some language this morning, and I think Margaret had an opportunity to talk with Kathleen a bit over the weekend on the latest amendments to, that's the universal registration bill, the latest amendments that we've seen to that. Do you have any comments to make on the substance of that one, Margaret?
Well, this is the universal voter registration bill, which would be Senate Bill 350. I believe on the House side it's called the Freedom to Vote Act. The the intent of the latest amendment was to somehow match SB 350, but when I read through it yesterday and talked with the county lobbyists, they weren't very close at all. And in fact, instead of having the local boards of election just do 2 mailings, now we're going to have to do 3 mailings to voters who are being told that they're unregistered. MACO has taken a position that that the costs that are described as local government costs should be absorbed by the state, and that the local boards of elections and county government and the city would only be responsible for mailing the current voter notification card. So the mailing that says this is to tell you that you're going to be automatically registered to vote, and then the House Bill 1007 requires a second mailing 60 days later, and also a postage paid return postcard to all those individuals that choose not to affiliate with the party, to allow them, all of those costs would be borne by the local government. And MACO's position is that it's great that you want to institute this public policy, but those expenses should be paid by the state, since this is being mandated by the state. And really and truly, I know it was on special order today, and I really don't know where it's at with regards to if it's moving forward or not.
And as ever, the implementation date is always
January
concerned.
2017.
So I think the likely, there's a fairly ambitious set of changes that would need to be made for the statewide voter registration database and the way that that data is communicated back and forth with other state agencies. And so, I think it's fair to have some concern about how quickly that could happen and, how we would then manage that process. We're seeing right now the effects of not having same-day registration ready to go, and we're gearing up for training. So that's something to keep an eye on.
I have a question. HB 1390, you don't have to prove your citizenship to vote, voter registration and everything. Then you don't have to. You don't have
No.
to prove I'm citizen. Then I can
No.
walk in and.
No, the Maryland Constitution really requires you to attest that you are a citizen of the United States.
That's it.
That's it.
Because if you lie, you go to jail.
Yeah, perjury.
No, but then if they don't have to prove it, who's going to do the research to see whether I am a citizen, not a citizen?
Anything else?
I have nothing else unless there are other bills that anyone wants to ask about. Oh, the Senate Bill 331, we're keeping an eye on. That's the other one. In addition to House Bill 204 to expand to the 10 early voting sites, this one, Senate Bill 331, we're sort of drumming our fingers on the table waiting to see how that's going to play out, because that's going to affect early voting. It's going to affect at least the disposition of ballots on the back end. This was the bill to apply the same standard for address changes at early voting as we have on election day for those individuals who do not provide proof of residence. So right now you can go on election day and you don't have to show proof of residence to do an address change, and we will accept that address change and you will and we'll count that ballot. Right now, if you do an address change at early voting, then and you do not have proof of residence, the Attorney General's opinion was that you would be in a position of needing to not accept those individuals' provisional ballots. So we're waiting for an outcome.
Forgive me, Attorney General
to
said,
not
I don't
accept
understand
it?
how they can be separate. How you can accept it at one, what's the difference between the elections that they would?
That's the law.
The difference is that when the same-day registration and early voting bill was written, it included address changes in its list of, in the requirement for the proof of residence. So it's only a subset of individuals who do not have proof of residence on them when they change their address, but it is a disparate treatment between early voting and election day that
Doesn't seem.
ideally would be the same standard.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay,
That's it. Board attorney?
My items, needs to be discussed.
Okay.
Let
Old
me
business?
just one thing with Kevin. I understand that Robin Fickers, has he delivered his petitions yet?
He has not.
Yeah, I saw him
Still,
recently.
isn't he getting old for petitions?
No, he's out there. There's a big effort on, he's coming in with a lot of signatures soon.
What, do you know what they are?
This is a ballot question to limit
Term limit.
the county council and the county executive to what, three consecutive terms?
Well, my only comment on that would be, if he has them, it would be nice to submit them sooner rather than later.
Yeah, what's the deadline on that?
Well, the deadline is the first week in August, but now that the calendar has been moved up, the election calendar has been moved up, the statutory deadlines for charter amendments are really not very realistic, because by the time you go ahead and you do verification, which can take 20 days, you're already basically at the end of August, and then if you get litigation involved, then you're basically having to go ahead and litigate those cases through the Court of Appeals in a 30-day period.
What's our process here for doing it? Does the board do that or staff? What's the process?
So the staff will lead us.
It's a nightmare.
The staff does it.
It's very
Well,
intensive.
the other piece that, do you want to talk about advance determination?
Well, right. I mean, for someone who's going to submit a petition, they can get an advance determination, which would basically, historically, was just the format of the petition to make sure that it was correct. Actually, one of Mr. Ficker's petitions was rejected because it did not, he used a form that the state no longer accepted. That was many years ago. But if you go through the advance determination process now, the local board will give a determination not only as to the format, but as to the reasonableness of the summary of the proposed amendment.
The board does that?
The board director, with consultation with council, does it.
Now, his petitions will have what they want people to sign on to, but that's not what's on the ballot. We make that final determination, don't we?
County council does the actual language of the question in conjunction with the county attorney's office. So the way it generally works is that if the petition, they submit the petition, it goes through the verification process by the staff. A determination is made as to whether they have the requisite number of signatures. For example, for a charter amendment, you're talking about at least 10,000 valid signatures. If that is the case and it is not challenged, and a determination is made that the question would appear on the ballot, then the county council would devise the language to appear on the ballot.
Do you ever have the person who has put the petition in object to the council's wording? I could see where that could be a possibility.
There has been some back and forth on that, and thankfully we stay out of that. That's between the petition sponsor and the county attorney's office to figure out.
So
the back
our
and
board's
forth on it.
our board's only function is to verify the signatures, basically.
Well, yes, but that generally is, the board is the one that gets sued, either one way or the other. If the question, if there are enough signatures, there have been challenges and lawsuits to knock out some of the signatures that were counted.
And we're sued.
And there have been occasions that, based upon the state's guidelines on how signatures are to be counted, there have been determinations where there were not enough signatures,
And we were sued.
and the board was sued.
So if Robin comes in with X number of signatures, we go through it. Are third parties allowed to peruse that,
No.
to challenge it?
But what happens is they have, I forget if it's 10 or 20 days to seek judicial review and declaratory relief in the circuit court. So once the determination is made by the Board of Elections, then the interested parties can then go ahead and seek judicial review.
I see.
Which is, can be handled, it's handled on an expedited basis through the court, but, a charter amendment's somewhat manageable because you need only 10,000 signatures, but if you had a petition on a local law, for example, I don't know what the number is, but in round numbers, it's 5%, which would be roughly 35,000 signatures. So.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Old business, I couldn't remember, I looked through my notes, you had asked for the fiscal notes on universal voter registration. I thought I sent them out to you. I couldn't find the email, so I sent them again, just so you're aware of it. If there's no other questions, then I'll go on to election preparation.
I had a question.
Oh, yeah.
I sent you an email about the election judges manual. I don't remember getting an answer to it.
Election judges.
Yes, the question was whether the manual explicitly requires that when the votes are reported out, that they do it by party.
Yes, I'm sorry if I did not respond to you. Yes, they do.
And it's in the
printout-
manual says that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, okay. Can you get that page of the instructions?
If you could actually just, if you could send it to me, that'd be actually better.
Okay,
Yeah.
I apologize. All right.
I don't know whether this comes under old business or not, but I wondered, are we going to discuss at some point the wheelchairs and what we might have found out? Is it coming under election preparation?
Early voting.
Early voting, okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, starting with any other old business? Okay. Then going on to the 2016 election preparations. All of the voting equipment is in the house. We have all of our scanners, blue bins, express votes, the cards, the printers, the new poll books. The only thing that we're waiting on now is the software for same-day voter registration to be loaded in the early voting poll books for early voting. The preparation of the voting equipment started, well, actually, we've been working on it all last week, but the guys began to actually do hands-on to the DS200 and the ballot marking device today. And you were downstairs and you saw what the guys were up to. The supplies that are being stored within the black cart for the election judges is in use and in the precinct, and that is underway. As I mentioned earlier today, the bilingual signs from the state board were supposed to be posted this afternoon, and once they are, then we will begin the process. We're testing almost weekly to make sure that the regional upload sites are functioning, and we've notified the Department of Technology Services that if they should make any sorts of changes to the functionality of the fiber optics, that we should be notified right away. The software for the wait time dashboard is functional, and we're expecting to post that, get that posted on the website in April. Okay? And
I mean, we're,
It doesn't
we've
go
got,
up before early voting. The dashboard
we,
doesn't
we
go
have,
before the voting starts.
we have the same dashboard process that we've used in the past, that we have all that information in the back end, it's ready to go. We just have the one change with the 10th early voting site. In addition, we've been working to try to get another piece of software that is used in another jurisdiction that some of our staff have looked at and like better. And so we're working to see if we can deploy that in parallel. In the meantime, though, we have the same way we've always done it, that we're doing.
Okay, transportation. We met with, continue to meet with County General Services to continue to discuss picking up the voted blue bins from the polling place at the primary election. They're working on the routing. We also met with the Montgomery County Public School Facility people on the delivery of our cards to the polling places. That happened on March 7th. We had a good meeting. We resolved some of the issues with the principals that we've had in the past, and talked about how heavy the black cart was going to be with this additional equipment, how critical it was to be pushed into the polling place room, and that our expectation is that the building services people would assist in trying to roll the DS200 out of the black cart
so that, you know, it doesn't tip over, because it's a very top-heavy piece of equipment. So that's, and the conversation was really good with the school system. And then Chris, you're going this week?
Thursday, there are two in-service, schools closed, and there'll be two building service in-service meetings on Thursday. So we will, three of us will attend, show them photos of the carts, and discuss access to the building and how to help set up the equipment in each one of the schools with the building service managers.
Do the carts not go directly to the room where the voting
No.
takes place?
No.
No, keep in mind that the equipment will begin to be delivered for early voting almost 2 weeks ahead of the election. So it has to go in a secure location until the night before, Monday night, and then it's placed in the room. So no, it does not go, because quite honestly, I really don't want that in a gym with basketballs and volleyballs bouncing around.
Well, no, I agree. Has that always been the case, that
Yes.
equipment gets delivered that early?
No, it can't, traditionally it came out 6 days. Normally the second Monday preceding the election, we would start delivering.
Are the ballots in that equipment, did you say? Are the ballots there, or are
Yes,
they
the
delivered
ballots
later?
will be
The
in
ballots will be locked into the
black-
equipment that's there 2 weeks ahead of
Within
time?
the blue bin. Remember the blue bins?
Yeah.
Blank ballots will be in there. Okay? All right.
The election judges have their procedures Monday night before the election to verify everything is there and not tampered with.
Okay, then election judge update, Leslie?
We received the updated chart. We got one last week and then another, so our numbers have increased about 400 that we got into the process.
I have them, I'm sorry, I thought I had distributed them prior to the meeting. I'll distribute them around to all of you. Yep, I'm tucked into my stuff. I got them all. They're on the table and then I can give to others.
They seem to be going pretty good. We have not had a lot of drop-offs. Things are pretty quiet. We do have one. Humberto is bringing in a lot of applications, particularly from the high schools. We are having issue with some of those being able to read them, and some of them are incomplete. So we have been pushing a lot of those paper applications back out to the online, which makes it easier because they're forced to fill in everything so they can't leave a gap. We have about 200 that we're waiting to get through that process, either complete information or registration. So individuals are doing, in most cases, the registration form at the same time that they're doing the queue. So we're able to get them completely both registered and signed up to be a judge. Most of them are going for the money and not the SSL credits. A lot of the seniors already have their credits, so they're thinking a little bit of summer money. So we're doing good. We've got early voting. We did announce that 10 was available, so we've had some people interested in shifting over from the other sites to 10. So we just did that this weekend, so there's not a lot that I can report.
All right.
How do you, so basically in terms of assignments, we have a little less than half, right?
Yeah. Actually, we're more than halfway.
How are you doing with Republicans versus Democrats?
We're always looking for Republicans, always. And we're looking for people to work in Potomac, Bethesda, Damascus, is that Poolsville?
We're just having, it's like pulling teeth to get people to volunteer
Is that for early voting?
for everything.
Huh.
Okay.
So, okay.
What's the process to get from the completed training category to the assigned category? 'Cause it looks like there's 600 there that drop off.
Once they've completed training, they gotta get an assignment. Some of the completeds are chief judges that still need to take a second class. They took the VOP portion, they still need to finish their chief.
So they're not actually complete.
Once they do that, they'll get an assignment. For the recruiters, the challenge is, one is the party balance. You know, do I put you in your home precinct, or if you happen to be Republican or unaffiliated, do I shift you over to a precinct next door? That I need that balance. The other is, we've had quite a few family members come in, and so, you know, they want to work with the family member, so you're waiting for that family member to get through before you can do an assignment, because they want to be together. So there's a couple of layers of things that it is not normally just a one-to-one, okay, you finished, I put you in your home precinct and move on.
Am I correct that the law is that Central Committee members cannot be judges?
Yeah.
Correct.
How many, what is your total that you need for bilingual judges? 200 and
240, one per precinct.
243.
Yeah.
But we have 270, right? That have qualified,
They're
that's
qualified,
Spanish.
but we've got to get through the process.
But you only have 177
Who
who
completed
completed
training?
the whole process,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So you still feel confident you'll be able to get them?
Well,
For the
one of the
26.
things that we're doing,
We're doing a lot better because of excuse me, Margaret, the students, a lot of
Yeah.
them have bilingual capabilities.
I
Yeah.
bet.
I know a few of them, they're excited, it's gonna be their first election. Good. Thank you.
okay, outreach, Allison?
I don't really have an outreach report for you, other than, because I had not prepared to do that in Hilberto's place, and he's not here. What I can say is that we still have a very active continuation of we have 6 individuals who are out doing outreach events as scheduled by Hilberto. Kevin Borsity, one of our temporary employees here, has stepped up into handling the coordination while Hilberto had to leave the country for a family emergency. To make sure that we're continuing to get those events covered and scheduled. We are still doing them. It's really a pretty significant effort that is going in by our team. So I don't really have a report for you. We can answer any questions that you have on the back end.
I guess the only thing I'd add for the record is that when we last appeared a few weeks ago before the GO committee of the council, it was nice to hear the council members appreciate the effort that the board has made in outreach, and they were very favorable in their comments and very pleased.
Okay, Margie, do you want to address the advertising at this point?
I provided for everyone in their packet just a spreadsheet, and it's not a spreadsheet, just a little chart that shows the final approved budget allocation for the advertising money. Pretty much everything has already been handled. As you can see, I've made my little notes in red. Contracts have been signed with everyone. I'm still waiting for proofs from El Tiempo Latino and Living Local, and we are getting the Facebook ads ready to go up. But everything else has been done. The PSAs were done by the Office of Public Information, as they have been done in the past, and they have been distributed to everyone, including WMAL. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But
Are you dealing with Zulema at El Tiempo Latino? Is that your...
no, I'm dealing with somebody who coordinates both the Express and El Tiempo Latino.
Okay.
What's the 3,000 for Facebook? Remind me, please.
That's the ads on Facebook
Oh, the ads.
they're targeted to folks who have not already liked our page. So if you've liked our page, you won't see them if you're on Facebook, but it's to reach out to folks. And just like all of our advertising, we've got the three different campaigns, if you will, the voter registration and absentee ballot, one early voting, and then election day. So they'll go up at different times.
And when are these starting?
Facebook ads, they're going to start next week, towards the middle of next week, for the voter registration and absentee ballot. And then they'll start the early voting one, because we do have a limit. So the way Facebook ads work, if you all are not aware, you designate an amount of money for a campaign. And then every time somebody clicks on your ad, your campaign funds go down until you run out. And so what we've done is we've tried to establish a series of dates where we will cover a weekend day, because there's a lot of activity on social media on the weekends, but give us representation. So the reason I say that is the early voting Facebook ad will not actually hit until about the second day of early voting, but it'll still be out there during early voting to get people there. And then the ad for election day will start the Saturday before the election. Okay. We put most of the money for the Facebook ads into the early voting, because that's what we're trying to get folks to. So we put half of the money towards that campaign and split the other half between the other two.
That's good.
And the gist of these ads is?
Registration, the deadline, and getting an absentee ballot and sending people to our website. And early voting is basically on Facebook. You have very limited space, and so we're putting up a little picture and we're putting up our website information and then a few words as to what that specific one is for.
Okay.
So when you're doing the early voting, would any of them be like vote early, now? Like these are the centers or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah. And we're not going to have the centers in the ad. You have to go to the website to see the
you'll have a
centers.
link.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Is the living local ad, is that going to be before early voting or before, the election day?
It's going to be, and I'd have to go back and look, I believe it's going to be the Thursday of early voting, and it will also have information on election day as well. So it'll cover early voting and election day. The original, and I thank you for bringing that up. The original allocation, if you will recall, was for a topper for the Express newsletter. They no longer do those. And so what they've done is they've offered me a quarter-page ad in the Living Local Montgomery edition in place of that. So that's what we're doing.
Oh, okay.
When you say the Thursday of early voting, you mean the first one or the second?
I believe the first, David, but I didn't bring that in with me. So,
Okay.
but it will go out during
Well, the second one's the last day.
Right, exactly, that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Oh.
Yeah, if it's on the first day, that's
No.
perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Okay, going on to early voting. County did sign the agreement for the site to serve as an early voting center on March 16th. All right of entry memorandums of agreement are signed between the Board of Elections and the City of Gaithersburg, Eden Fire Rescue, County. Parking has been arranged, thanks to Mr. Subin, at the council office building.
What's the arrangement?
The 1 hour free parking at the council office building. And then,
And where would that be?
And the
At the
corner of the.
Oh, in the building itself?
No, no, no.
At the council building.
Oh, at the council.
building
On
across the street.
100, Maryland Avenue.
What do they
no,
do?
not in the executive office.
Mike, what do they have to get something from the
gas
voting? How-
Check the
Council.
Okay.
That's a hike.
Well, isn't the sticker, would
I'm
the
sorry,
sticker be enough?
what was the answer?
I voted.
Would the sticker
Everybody
be
gets the
enough?
I vote. What do they need to show the parking, you know?
Would the sticker be enough or no?
Normally, it just
Really,
depends
they
on
don't
voting
check.
today's sticker.
Oh,
In
what?
the past, it's been an I voted sticker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well, that's why I'm asking.
So we'll coordinate it.
Okay, okay. Good.
The I voted today sticker
Usually I
has been
vote.
used traditionally.
That's what
Yeah, sometimes if we need longer hours with Mr. Leggett, I'm there, we ask Mr. Leggett to extend it. He does do
I
that.
don't think there'll be a problem if there are long lines.
Yeah.
In fact,
Additional,
I'll be one floor up, so if there's a problem.
we'll call you.
Yeah.
You always do.
I know.
Just run downstairs.
Nothing with any of the other parking areas, Silver Spring or,
No, that's
If
a
you're
public
asking,
park.
is there going to be free parking?
yeah,
No.
The answer is no.
or
It's a
reduced.
public
And
park.
I again am going
You
to
know,
do
after-
the same
and that
thing.
usually after 9 o'clock, if there's spaces in the jurors' locker, which is just across the street,
Right.
then you don't even have to worry about the stickers of the hours.
Can we publicize that?
No.
No.
I want to make sure that I again say I object to having people have to pay to vote, and when they can't get free parking, they have to pay to vote.
Well,
So
the-
I'm not asking you to do anything again, I'm simply, for the
No,
record,
on the record.
saying I really object to that.
Would you support funding for that?
I would support working with the people that have the paid parking to block off 10 meters or whatever it is
If you
for the election
if
day.
you- Jack, if you anticipate a problem in any of the other sites, let me
Silver
know and
Spring.
I'll work with it.
Well, I think she's talking about the Civic Center in Silver
Yeah.
Spring.
Talking about
Specifically,
what?
the Civic Center in Silver Spring.
Yeah, the Civic Center in Silver Spring, you have to park on
Public
Oak Street, you have to pay. And I just,
And the one thing we won't be able to control is the on-street parking. I can talk to them about see what they can do about the garage.
And the weekends are free.
The other issue is the street parking in Chevy Chase that we have talked about before, and I thought we were going to try and have some outreach to the town of Chevy Chase to see if they wouldn't do
and they're
something.
usually very cooperative.
No, the last time
No,
they,
they weren't.
they rejected
They
it.
were not.
They
Shot
didn't,
us
right.
down. We can try it again.
They were-
All we ask is that they don't patrol it.
Can you let us know when that's happening in case we can join you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because maybe that'll help.
Well, good, when I was looking on our site, the 10th, Potomac wasn't part of the early voting site last week.
On the website?
Mhm.
It is up
In
there
our
now.
side, yeah.
On our site, it
This
is up
on?
there now.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, Sylvia called.
And then, just so you also know, that with the construction of the main circle at the Executive Office Building, we have been given permission and we have created additional banners to help individuals get into the entrance of the Executive Office Building. And then also, related to the Silver Spring Civic Center, because it is considered a walking community, according to the county. The Van Go was arranged for the Silver Spring District to run until, is it 8 p.m. or 8:30, Michael? The Van Go? 8 p.m. during the whole early voting period. So that would be from April 14th to the 21st, and again in the general election.
Great.
All right, and then wheelchairs. Do you want to talk about wheelchairs?
Do I want to talk about wheelchairs? I guess I could talk about wheelchairs. Let me find it. It's in your packet,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, it should be in your packet.
Oh,
We
The
did,
advance packet.
it was in the advance packet. Okay, great. Thank
I
you.
didn't see.
What we were able to find out was that of the 10 early voting centers, Boar Park has 2 wheelchairs that are 10-plus years old. Damascus has 1 wheelchair. And, of course, there's the issue of liability and everything like that with any of that. I did reach out to 3 medical or / surgical supply centers, and the cheapest that we could get for a weekly rental, including pickup and delivery, would be through Roberts Home Medical out here in Germantown, and that would be $95 for the week. If a chair is damaged while it is in our possession, we would have to pay $300 for that chair.
And it's not a wheelchair, it's a transfer chair.
Yeah.
It's
Very,
not a
very
real
different.
wheelchair, it's a transfer chair. It's the least expensive.
And that's just the canvas seat with sidebars, I've had them for my mother, and they're,
Flimsy.
they're not
Secure.
I would be concerned if anybody that wasn't the caretaker of the person tried to transfer them, put them in from the car into there, or took them in, or took any responsibility for them.
I
It would be
think
very concerning.
Yeah, I think this wheelchair business is a little bit.
It seems like
risky.
there's a lot, Kevin
It's
would
too
know better than I, but
complicated.
isn't there a big liability issue here?
Yeah.
If we give someone a wheelchair and the wheel falls off and they
The
break their
first
arm
down
or
or
something.
something happens.
If there was someone who was negligent in some form
Yeah.
or fashion. on a basis.
Well, if they trip on the sidewalk, we have liability too.
Or if they fell off the
Yeah,
chair.
Right.
but that's different.
So the bottom line is,
If you wish, we can, there is no ADA money available from the state. So this would be an expense completely borne by the local board of elections.
Now,
In terms of the two places that do have something, Borough Park and Damascus, can we use those?
We could certainly ask.
But it's for the public.
Yeah.
So I think, which doesn't make sense that the other ones do not. Like the civic center, it just makes no sense that they would not have.
But they don't, so
A
that we're
wheelchair
not talking about
available.
what they should.
But what are the county guidelines? I thought that with, okay. I don't know. I just thought like some of these places where they rent out to other, like the ICB had some kind of procedure where they're supposed to have wheelchairs. Does anybody?
They don't
have you-
have them.
okay.
It would
And you
cost
checked with
us
them?
to, yes.
Okay. You checked
Say,
with the ICB?
this is what it would cost.
We did not check with the ICB.
Okay.
We reached out to the centers themselves to
Okay.
find out what they had available.
Because when we book this, are we renting it through the center or are we renting it through the ICB? When we do the booking for the Board of Elections?
Through the center.
Right.
Through the center or the ICB?
Through the
Through the
center.
Okay. Okay.
have we ever done wheelchairs before?
No, it was an issue I raised. It had been raised to me. Well, I certainly would like to go ahead where they have them at the facility and
And
at
do
least.
what, Mary Ann? Put a sign up that say wheelchairs available at your discretion? I mean, or
No,
what are you
no.
asking for?
I think if we're asked, if someone comes and indicate and says to someone, do you all have a wheelchair that I can, get my mother? It would be easier.
All right, so you want a chief judge to know that there are wheelchairs available?
And the center manager.
That's right.
And the center
and that
manager
we
have
know.
that.
I mean, yes, no sign.
But
I mean,
but we don't.
we're not
jointly with it.
advertising it because
We don't
we're
offer, and we don't.
obviously
we
this
don't
is very
push it.
limited.
No, we don't transfer and push.
That's the question, Mary Ann, which is, the issue is, do we just allow whoever is there to go ahead and use the wheelchair, or is the board saying that a staff member would actually go out
No.
to the curb?
No, I don't think it should be a staff
sorry.
member. There's a wheelchair available if the person, and whoever their caretaker is there needs it too.
Do we need a sign saying use at your own discretion? Or your own,
They are
whatever,
not
liability or
responsible,
whatever
yeah.
it is?
Your own risk or something?
Like parking garage, they do that if you use your car.
I know these things are never easy.
No.
Is
We're gonna
that
try it at two places?
Well, that's where there are only two that have a wheelchair at the
Are
moment.
you saying two additional places?
No, I'm just
No,
saying
two places that
and
have
See how
it.
it
I know,
goes, see if
but-
it's used.
I mean, it's a small pilot, but I was hoping we
Well,
could.
Damascus is one of the lowest turnouts that we ever had, so that's kind of interesting.
It was also-
Yeah, well, and they only have one wheelchair, but Borough Park has
Has
two.
two.
Of course, they're so friendly.
Okay.
You know what I would like to look into? I'm sure we can't do it before the primary election, but possibly before the general. And tell me if it takes a law or what, but that we could go out to the car and
It takes a law.
what is that called? I mean, there are
Virginia
states
is what it's
that.
called.
Virginia does, it brings the ballot right out.
Yes, you can take the curbside, thank you.
That was-
Curbside, but where that would involve an official from one of the election judges to go out to the car. Does that take legislation?
It does.
Yeah.
And it's too late this session, isn't it?
Yeah.
By a lot.
Okay,
We
anything
gotta
else?
look into that.
So how do we leave this?
That's
We're
the
gonna
easiest way to
have
do
We
the-
only have 2 locations that have wheelchair
You
and
don't want to
boom.
spend any.
So and we're not gonna do anything, if someone asks, they'll be told that there's a wheelchair. We're not gonna do anything affirmative.
No,
Let me ask you this, if somebody asks, they're
Why
given
not
to
people
the
that
manager of the building, correct?
Two of them in one place.
Because they're referred to the manager of the building, end
Well,
of story.
we're not, we don't hold the wheelchairs. They're gonna have to go to
Yes.
wherever the
Yeah.
check-in
They're
station
referred to the
is.
manager of the building, done.
Okay. So when,
Okay.
our hands, we
For
have no
now.
fingerprints
You're not
on the
responsible.
wheelchair.
Okay, unless there's something else,
I've been asked to
Deal with it.
request, and the Potomac people are very interested. You know, there's a big sign, like outside the Potomac, voting site, which you can see on 4 roads. Can we use that to say early voting on it? You know, the
Yeah.
event sign is a big event sign outside of Potomac.
Yeah.
That lights up, the kind that's used by a computer and lights up. And
It's a
reads
big
that-
thing
read
right
that.
on Falls
Read that.
Road.
I will, Chris, will you
Yeah.
contact the center manager there?
Digital, yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah. Ronnie, I think the Silver Spring one has one
Thank
too,
you.
right? That has it's a small, it's like,
It's like an
Good
event.
idea, Jim.
yeah,
There's several of these
Wheaton
places
does,
that
too.
goes.
yeah,
Read
and
it.
Wheaton does too.
Wheaton does.
And I think there's.
And
an
Laura
issue-
Park
Wheaton
does
is
too.
going to,
Borough Park does
Sure.
right on
Yes,
355.
they do.
Wheaton
Did
is
Fort
going
Park?
to be advertising while we're there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can we
$13,000
suggest that
we
anyone who
have a
has
wedding
it, we
there.
want to do it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, any of the sites that have it.
Yeah, any site.
yeah, Borough,
That's great.
yeah, right on 355, it's a big,
Right.
Okay, Jim.
Well, they did, and they also had street signs the last time. They
if we
put
can,
up. So,
we can ask
and
to
I
use it.
believe that they're talking about doing that, those little, those signs on the
The
street.
mobile signs.
Yeah, those, that's what I'm
Yes, as
thinking.
far as I know, and we'll
They're
check
still-
into that. I believe
Yeah.
that's agreed upon.
They've already agreed to that.
What is that?
They're mobile signs that, you know, they do special events, so, you know, don't turn left off at 355 during the county fair, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
road construction upcoming instead of.
Oh,
say,
the ones with
early
the lights?
voting.
The light
Arrows.
ones?
Yeah.
Those are cool.
Yeah, if we can just
Okay.
You
ask.
can do
it's
a
good.
dancing guy next to it.
No, I don't think,
I like that.
Gaithersburg is pretty fussy about
I love those
signage.
things.
They
Dancing
barely
voter.
tolerate our feather flag.
On 355, I think.
Mm-hmm, that's a
Those
good
guys.
spot
Okay.
for it. Wheaton, Potomac, they're all good.
Just to save a little bit of time here, because I'm gonna have Allison talk about the sample ballot.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I distributed a copy of the sample ballot. What you all have in your hands is a copy of the version that is for unaffiliated voters. We did 7 versions this time. Style
There's
G
no candidates in this one.
is for the unaffiliated voters. We did just take delivery today of some in-office copies of styles A through F. So A, B, C are the 3 Republican styles, and then D, E, F are the 3 Democratic styles. I do have those if anybody wants to take a look.
G has no
on your way out.
candidate.
Yeah, because we'd like to see the candidates.
I heard they arrived. I haven't.
There are candidates.
Haven't looked
This
at
is
them.
the nonpartisan candidate. And then,
And it's not in here. I've looked through,
Well,
I just understood that. It's not, this is the unaffiliated. This was the
Yeah.
There's one.
Unaffiliated sample
And on turn.
Yeah, it's on
Page
page
16.
4.
No, page
4, yeah.
16, no?
well, that's.
You're in Spanish.
Oh, in Spanish.
It's on page 4, and then on page 5, we repeated the information that we have that explains
That
why
you
you're
have
not
to
seeing
belong
candidates
to-
for president.
Yeah, but I'd like to see what it's gonna look like with all of the delegate
You
candidates,
want to see the
et
other
cetera.
sample ballots. you're
Yes,
saying.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
We can go take a look at those after the board meeting. I haven't personally gotten copies of those yet. I heard they arrived today.
Okay.
So we can go
Because
take a
I
look
think
at
that,
those. They ran style G first off the presses, and these were actually grabbed by the staff member who went over right when they first fired up the presses, so we could get the first ones that came off. We did style G first because we wanted to make sure that all the unaffiliated voters get this as soon as possible, because we want them to get it before April 5th. So when they open it up and they see
they
nobody
can't
for
vote.
president, they have time to contact us and seek a
Get
clarification
online,
of this.
register to a political party, right?
Yes. This is the earliest that, at least in my tenure here, this is the earliest that we've finalized and sent out the sample ballot. And so it does take, it's standard mail. The post office does not guarantee delivery earlier than 14 days. And so, and that is our experience, that it does take about 2 weeks before, with their procedures, everything gets out to all of the locations. So our hope is that now getting these out as early as we've gotten them out, they are scheduled to all be delivered in time for anyone who, sees something and disagrees with it to contact us before the voter registration deadline. So if you do start getting questions, we have instructed our call center not to send out second copies of the sample ballot until after April 1st. We will be sending out second copies after April 1st if anyone reports to us that they did not receive their sample ballot at that point. We do not yet have the PDFs of this up online, but we're going to get the PDFs up online too, so that people can go and download and view it and print it if they wish to.
Is this a telephone number in here, the one you just gave me about for the voter hotline?
It's lots
looks
of places,
different.
but at the very bottom of the inside cover,
No, it is, yeah.
you have the phone number.
Oh, okay.
It's 777
Thank you.
8683.
Okay.
But you just have to let us know.
All right. Okay.
So much stuff.
We'd like to do the presentation about the surprise that I received last week about the Wheaton Ballroom for the general election.
The what?
The
Yeah.
Wheaton
Oh,
Ballroom.
Wheaton Ballroom.
So, Chris, do you want to,
There's no problem
You
with
don't
the
know?
primary.
there is no problem with the primary.
They're moving the
So,
library.
Yeah, there's no problem for the primary. It's good.
okay, so while Chris is getting, do we get a laptop?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I'll,
You haven't told me.
Okay.
just a second, it's up.
All right, so what happened is, it seems like a long time ago, but it was just last week, I was informed by the Department of General Services that the county had executed an agreement between the county and the Wheaton Fire Rescue Squad to rent the ballroom for 2 years, commencing May 1st. Of this year, and that they thought it would be a great idea for the early voting site and the library to coexist, to that we could set up our equipment in the where they have the books and audiovisual and whatever else they have in the library. And I said, this is the presidential election. We expect, based on past history, we're expecting well over 1,000 voters a day. We'll have anywhere from 30 to 40 voting stations. We'll have 8 minimum check-in stations. I just don't think it's possible to have our equipment in there. So it was a very busy schedule for the county executive's representatives. So they met with us, and the possibility of moving the library out is not really a possibility at all. If you
Could we,
wanted-
before we see this thing, could we hear from Mr. Subin, representing the county executive, as to how this could happen?
I'm sitting, thank you, because
Very, very easily, that the library is a 2-year issue as opposed to a 10-day or so issue. And libraries can be closed down and no provision to the public for it. And there's just no way that they're gonna let 1 week interfere with 2 years.
When was it planned?
When there are other options.
But
that are
but
just as
but the
viable.
county executive was very helpful to us in agreeing to pay for the facility when we needed the Wheaton Recreation Center. So we knew that the election was going to be run there. When did this whole issue of moving the library come up? It couldn't have been suddenly.
Yes, it was supplemented.
Yeah, the library's been planned to shut down for several years.
Yeah.
Right.
Where did they think they were going?
Typically, libraries have not had an alternate site
Uh-huh.
while they decided, in this case, that the director of libraries wanted to provide that community with an interim library during the period of discussion or construction.
And you're paying, one assumes the county is paying the Wheaton Fire Station for the space for the library, a great deal of money.
Correct.
Like a week ago.
What a pain.
So this decision was made by whom?
Ultimately, the county executive began with discussions between the director of libraries and the director of general services
And when?
in the last 2 months.
After we started talking to
Well,
them
we
about our
didn't
prices.
hear about it though until what, a week ago?
That's correct.
It says Monday.
Why wasn't the Board of Elections brought into the discussion? Since
Because this was an internal discussion between the director of the libraries and general services on how to provide those services to the community. And they were the only interested, the only
as opposed to
parties.
providing voting for the community.
We are talking about a 2-year period as opposed to a 10-day period where there are other options.
Why
The
did
firehouse is going to be coming down also, and it's going to be staying open longer.
But
So
why
that
did they tell us earlier, Mike, when they were
they just,
discussing it for a
Jackie,
long
they just
time?
decided. It's within the
They've been
last,
discussing it for quite a
Don't
while.
worry.
I have no idea how long they've been discussing it, but the decision was made within probably the last 6 to 8 weeks.
All right, let's find out what we can do to fix it. What is
It's
that what we're
fixed.
doing here? Is what we can do to fix it.
Okay.
It's hardly fixed.
It is fixed.
It's hardly
It
fixed.
is fixed. There will be a site that frankly accommodates the election better because of the parking, and it's only several blocks away.
Well, I'm glad you think so, but I think when elections are concerned, that's up to us to decide whether it's
Mr.
fixed.
Naaman, this is not up to you to decide. It is up to the county. If you don't want to use the firehouse, then you tell Mr. Dice, and he will start to take it down.
No, I was not suggesting that it was up to us whether to use county facilities, but I think it is up to us to decide whether the solution that is being proposed is an adequate one.
Mr. Naaman, if you don't believe that it is adequate and you don't want to use it, then you tell Mr. Dice.
I'll be happy to tell Mr. Leggett.
Then you tell Mr. Leggett.
Okay.
This Thursday,
Okay.
so when we have to take an elevator in.
Can we get started with this presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we did meet with the Department of General Services and Libraries to talk about some options. So basically, we were notified, and so we began the process of looking at what were the different options. And the library is going to move into the ballroom, and the professional staff at the Board of Elections does not believe that with the number of voters based on our projections of anywhere from 1,000 to 1,300 voters, the setup will accommodate the coexistence of the library and ballroom as well as the Board of Elections. So, that being said, this is what the ballroom setup that we submitted to the state board is expected to be. And the state projects that in the general election, we should have about 1,300 voters daily during the 8-day period of time. Okay, so, and will you go back one? Okay, so basically what we have is approximately 28 voting booths with the option to add in 10, 12 check-in stations, again, trying to mitigate to not have long lines, and everyone served within the first 30 minutes. We'll have 2 DS200s there to scan the ballots. And of course, we'll have provisional voting and same-day voter registration. All right, so Chris, you want to go to the next one?
Okay, this, we had Louise create a map of the general area of the Wheaton core. We show up in the upper, and I know you all have the maps in front of you, Bauer Drive Recreation Center as an alternative. Then into the south, we have the Glenmont Wheaton Firehouse that is fire station number 18. And as Mr. Subin mentioned, it's about 2 to 3 blocks south of Arcola Avenue. Then we showed the Wheaton site, the rec, volunteer rec, and then there's also an alternative of using the gardens, the Brookside Gardens, which is part of Wheaton Regional. That's off Randolph Road.
May I ask a question at this point? We spent weeks, probably months, over coming up with a site in Wheaton. We went to Wheaton Plaza. We went everywhere you can imagine. And now all of a sudden, we're hearing about these other comparable sites when we had nothing that could replace, when we were struggling, when we knew the amount of money we were going to have to pay for the other place. These issues were never raised for us in any type of serious consideration.
Well, respectfully, Bauer Drive Recreation Center was discussed.
Oh, and Bauer Drive was a site. That's not in Wheaton. I'm specifically talking about this fire station and Brookside Gardens.
The fire station just became available. That is what this county is now offering. As for Brookside Gardens, we did present it, but the board had set it aside because the bus did not go into where the community hall is.
Excuse me, Margaret. The Brookside Gardens is part of Wheaton Regional, and we were told that that was what was considered not really Wheaton at that time.
Told by who?
Well, it was part of our discussion that we went into Wheaton Regional and looked at the different buildings in Wheaton Regional, and it was felt that that wasn't part of Wheaton.
Yes, well.
So the thing is that the Wheaton Glenmont Fire Station currently is occupied by fire apparatus, but it will be vacated in late August, first part of September. The county has offered to modify the location to accommodate whatever the needs are of the Board of Elections so that we can
What does that mean,
offer.
Margaret? What kind of modifications are we talking about?
Can you go to the next?
Maybe the library could go in there.
Well, I think it's unconscionable we weren't part of the discussion.
And what Mr. Subin was explaining early on, this building that you're looking at right now is an aerial of where the interim Glenmont Fire Station is temporarily. Glenmont will move into their own fire station on Georgia Avenue in the fall, September, which will leave this building vacant. This building was not vacant and was to be torn down, but General Services is willing to leave the building alone long enough for Board of Elections to use it in the general election.
Is it safe?
Yes.
They're moving
Yeah,
out. Is it safe?
It's
Are
falling
there bathrooms
down.
available? Is it ADA?
Mike, give us your view.
It is a fully operational facility. It was not an option earlier because as soon as the fire and rescue squad left, it was supposed to be raised as part of the broader plan to keep the library open on an interim basis and go into the space where the early voting was supposed to be held. Mr. Dice said that he could keep that facility open longer rather than raise it right away. There are plans for that property, so the library could not go there for the 2 years. It would have interfered with those other long-range issues. As far as the safety goes, it's safe. It wasn't functioning as they felt that a modern fire and emergency service delivery facility should be functioning.
Is the 4,000 square feet available to us convenient? Is it a convenience?
It's off of Georgia.
No, I don't mean that kind of convenience. I mean the internal space, the 4,000 square feet. Is that, I mean, are there poles people are going to have to shinny down, fire station style? There's none, all of that's going to be out of the way.
All of the equipment will be out of the building, and basically it will be, as you look through a firehouse, you see the huge bays where they pull in the equipment. All of the equipment will be moved out, and the whole floor where they've housed the different pieces of equipment will be open and available for voting.
The reason there weren't earlier discussions is this did not come up until after the decision to relocate the library on an interim basis rather than have no library services. And the fire department, I believe, said, hey, wait a minute, you have an issue. And at that point, Ms. Jurgensen and I were both notified by Mr. Dice that there is an issue, we have a solution. This all happened very quickly.
Clearly.
Well, they didn't realize that there was an issue until they went back and the fire department said that the early voting is supposed to be held here, at which point Mr. Dice went in, had his staff, his real estate people, immediately look into what else is available in the area. I mean, Mr. Dice went out of his way to come up with something very quickly, immediately after he was notified.
And I'm sorry, I'm getting this a little confused in my mind. You said it would be available August, but early voting starts in 3 weeks.
No.
This is only for the general. This is only the general.
Yeah, the primary, the primary is no
We're
problem.
safe.
Right.
We're fine. But we can, the library isn't moving in until after.
That was not clear.
No, the primary is
Thank you,
set. The
Gracie.
primary is no issue.
May,
No issue. I sent
May
an
the
email.
library
All right,
will start
all right,
taking
all right.
over
Let's move
the
ahead. Okay.
Wheaton
The
volunteer.
primary was set.
Right.
No problem. But it's, you can't use it in the general.
How many parking spaces are there?
I don't know, I can check if you'd like. The word I got is the parking is easier at the second site than the first.
No,
What it says here is
There's
election.
no parking.
It literally says here, election judges could be shuttled to a nearby parking lot.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't.
And it
I
says
didn't see-
some off-street parking lots and metro within walking distance. So, and I happen to know the neighborhood. A lot of the parking spaces that are on this picture are associated with other
Mr.
buildings.
Naaman, I said already, I apologize, I misunderstood Mr. Dice. If you'd like me to give you a letter reiterating that, I will.
No, I'm just trying to explain it for the others who may not be as familiar with the neighborhood.
Shall,
I mean, a number of these buildings here are commercial buildings
Correct.
that are nearby, and a number of these parking spaces belong to those buildings.
That's
to
correct.
me,
You are correct.
Mr. Naaman, the parking spaces that we can see immediately around the building would be available to us. And then the street parking along Grandview. And then we would need to use the parking lots that are south of this area.
You're talking about the 10 spaces
The
there?
spaces
10
that are
spaces, and are the spaces
along
across
the
from it?
base and up the side and on the top at the corner. Those would be the spaces available to us. The other spaces that you see in this lot are allocated for businesses that are in the area.
Are we gonna
in
have
that
have to
particular-
put no parking during election signs there for those vendors, those people that own those businesses?
Yeah, I mean, what's gonna stop other people from parking in that, especially the back part there?
We'll have to hope that we can put
Hope.
signage that they will honor that.
Well, no, this is outrageous. First of all, it is against the rules. Does the state know about this yet? We are not supposed to change locations from the primary election to the general election for early voting
Kevin,
sites.
is that a matter of state law?
I don't believe it is, but I need to double check.
Or regulation?
I
or
know it's
yeah.
general.
And do we have to
practice
get the state to okay this?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, the state was advised that this
It was,
occurred.
it was advised, you said.
Yes,
When?
Friday.
And it's just happened.
No, I know, I just wanted to get,
But yeah, Gracie, it'll have to get approved by the state board, just like all the other sites.
We would have to
State
put
board.
together the same information, the forms and all of the diagrams and photos as we've done for
So how
several
much
on the other locations.
So how many spaces does this facility have that are devoted to it?
David, I counted it once. I see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the 10 there at the base. We're talking about 22, and then whatever the county can arrange for us in that upper corner right there.
okay, so we're
The
talking,
corner.
maybe 20 space max? Maybe?
Of which
We're talking-
some will have to be, at least 3 are gonna have to be
A
handicapped. or-
designated
Right.
handicap.
How many did the rescue squad have?
86.
So we're not going to be able to tell the voters at the primaries that next time if you early vote, it's going to be a different location.
Right.
Not unless the board agrees to moving this to another location.
Wait, don't we have a contract?
Yeah, we talk so often about the contract and how much it costs.
Okay, Kevin, what's the deal with that? Where we stand on the contract
There's
issue?
there's a contract for both
Okay.
the primary and the general.
And so I think we stick
Is
to our
the,
contract.
is the county a party to that contract?
No.
So how do they get priority over the ballroom compared to us? How does the library move in when we already have a contract for the space?
I wasn't part of any of those discussions. I
Were
mean,
you-
the MOU is for the primary and the general.
Were you contacted by the county to discuss that they wanted to move in and to see if there could be some kind of agreement by anybody from the county executive's office or?
I was contacted via the same email that you got from Mark.
Which email was that?
I sent
Oh,
it
the
to you
same
on
one.
Thursday.
You sent an email on what, Thursday?
I didn't
Sometime last week.
Yeah. You got that, Jay.
Sorry, I didn't read it. I missed it. I
Yeah.
apologize.
You know,
don't know.
Margaret's
I don't
told
think
us
I
what's
got
going
one.
on.
About this?
Yes.
I don't have an email from this last Thursday. I have an
I don't
email
know if
that
it was
I have an email that
Thursday,
says
but
absentee
something last
ballot
week.
mailing date.
I
I
got
sent
it.
it out last Thursday.
Yeah.
I have a
I got it.
But I guess my question,
No, I
I'm
don't
gonna
have
go
it.
back to it
Yeah,
is,
yeah, she sent it.
we have
Not
a
last
contract,
Thursday, Mr. Neiman, the
right,
Thursday before.
for the primary and for the general, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Might have been a week ago Thursday.
So-
Dave.
Yeah.
Can
Nope.
somebody just nullify, can the county executive
don't have it.
just say gazam and
Well, I
nullify a
did send it
contract?
to
Yeah, I got it.
well, I don't have it.
What, are you saying yes, he can?
I'm sorry.
I think maybe we should
Isn't
talk,
it-
I think we should talk about this contract in executive session.
Okay,
Oh,
that'd be
alright.
great. If we can discuss that at that time, I think that would be great.
Do you remember getting
And is this
I'm
fire
looking for it.
station a volunteer fire station or is this a career fire station?
Volunteer.
It's a volunteer fire station? That's
It's
even better.
part of the Kensington group, Mr. Zuben, I
Part of
believe.
me.
No, it's
a wait and rescue
it's his own.
It's a private.
It's a,
It was
right,
Yeah, it's a
that's
private
not-
organization.
great.
It's
Okay.
not a county location.
Great.
That's correct.
And I think we should discuss this in executive session.
Okay.
Has the county considered the possibility of closing the library during the early voting?
Yes, that is an option. They would close the library, but we would have to set up our equipment in and around the books,
Yeah.
stacks.
Is that something doable, Margaret, or no?
Is that negotiable? I mean, I'm not,
Well,
we'll have to
again-
discuss it. I'm not at all clear where we are with contracts and
Is
negotiations.
that satisfactory, Margaret, or no?
Your attorney suggests that this be
Oh, okay.
discussed in executive.
Yeah, I think we should.
We're through. Are we
should put
ready
this
to go
in
into
our
executive
executive
session, Mr. Chairman?
We'll
Okay.
hash this out.
All right,
So would you
then,
like me to go on, Margaret, or shall we?
Yeah, please.
okay, so this is the Glenmont Fire Station. That's the location, George Avenue. That would be the entrance where the voters come in. Voting would take place in where the apparatus or the trucks are currently housed. All of that space has been upgraded. We would have an area for the election judges to rest. There's a kitchen area, there's restrooms. This is the approximate square footage. It is climate controlled. We have more than enough electrical outlets and lighting. There are landlines. We have not tested the transmission capabilities for our poll books. It is ADA compliant, it has concrete floors. The election judges would have to be shuttled to a parking lot. It's 0.4 miles from the Wheaton Metro Station. It's served by these 3 bus routes. Parking is limited and electioneering would be marginal, but it is there.
When you say marginal, what does that mean?
They would need to, there's a sidewalk.
What sidewalk?
There's a sidewalk that leads along Grandview, so we would need to set up electioneering on the sidewalk.
So,
Near
where,
the traffic?
yeah,
Well, they have
I'm
to
having
do
trouble visualizing this. That it
outcome.
would be 25 feet at minimum from
From
that,
where
from that
the-
entrance.
Yes,
So,
we,
it would go basically to somewhere where the parking lot is over there?
yes, from somewhat past
Now, I
where
thought
you see
that
the
parking
fire
lot,
hydrant.
I thought that parking lot belongs to the restaurant that's at the other end of the parking lot.
But this parking that's up against the building would be available to us.
The 10 spaces.
The 10 spaces.
So
that-
these
right here?
these over
Yes.
here?
Mhm.
And that's where the electioneering would take place right
Yes.
there?
Mhm. Or on the upper corner, too.
This is it.
Corner of Ridge,
Where
Blue
the-
Ridge and Grandview.
Where the ambulances come out?
Yeah.
And the fire
Yeah,
trucks
it's
come
in
out?
Yes, but they
But there
won't
wouldn't
be
be
in
any
there, so
trucks
there
in
won't
there.
be any equipment
No, I got something
using,
about the
we're
closing
voting
ceremony.
in
That's
the
what
bay.
it's about, what's
So there won't be any,
With the electioneering, okay.
oh,
Where does
okay,
it say
there
anything
wouldn't
about
be
losing
any
the only voting
equipment
site?
going back and forth because they will,
I
this
got that
fire
one.
company will have moved to their home, to
Okay.
their new building,
Oh, gotcha.
okay?
I'm just imagining that fire truck coming out when we were,
No.
No.
that would be really fun.
No, all of that will be gone. The building basically would be dedicated to BOE
Don't close the
function
library.
and nothing other than that.
They'll close the library for everybody.
Okay, then,
But setting up around the books doesn't make any
so
sense.
then the next location would be the Bauer Drive, Aspen Hill location. We've been there in the past. There's plenty of parking. There's a school adjacent to it. It's at Bauer and 28 on
Okay,
Norbeck.
well, that explains it.
I didn't
Plenty of
realize that.
ADA parking at this location. Plenty of space to be the entrance into the
This
social
is what
hall.
I've been
But
talking
there's a
about.
lot going
She
on at
must
that
not
center too.
realize,
They
'cause
have
then
a
she sent
senior,
the other
a
thing
senior
out to everybody,
program.
and, yeah, she must
They
not
have
realize.
a lunch
what I've been
senior
talking about.
program.
Yeah.
To both of
She,
you.
she didn't realize.
Well, we're
It's
just giving you
like and me.
potential.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just asking Chris. I know Bauer Park is a really busy.
Well, it's one of our alternate
I'm not
locations.
voting.
It's already
Yeah,
been
yeah.
designated,
Yeah.
it's already been
Oh, I agree,
designated
I
as
agree.
an
Did
she
alternate.
send
But
it to
as
you?
in the
No.
past,
No, I guess
we've
not.
used Bauer Drive and the accommodations were made
That's not a real.
Then
when
what's
there
the thing
were,
with Leggett?
more than likely, the senior program occurred in this room. And if we were to use the room, then that senior program would
Right.
meet that particular week. But that's the case
That's
in
this.
most of our centers where we have
And I guess that's your reason.
taken over the room and the programs that were in the room were canceled for the week that we
The
attended
announcement,
to
the
vote.
announcement from Leggett.
So the Bower would be the same situation.
Yeah.
And this is the diagram of Bower that we've used in the past, and it will the room will accommodate our new system. And then this.
I'm sorry, Chris, can we go back? Public transportation, is there actually, because I think the closest bus stop is not near the center, but it's actually on the main road, which is
On Norbeck Road.
On Bower
There's a
Drive,
bus
there's
stop.
stops
Yeah.
48
right,
and 49.
right at the center, just almost right in front of the center.
Totally different.
It's nowhere near,
No, it's a different neighborhood.
Wheaton, it's nowhere near.
No.
And this is
yeah.
an
not near
area,
Wheaton.
this is an aerial of Brookside. Now, you'll see that there looks like there's quite a bit of excavation going on. All of that will be parking, and I was out there last week, and all of that parking is paved and almost ready to go. They're doing landscaping right at the moment.
So is this at the Nature Center?
It's a little bit north of the Nature Center. The Nature Center's somewhat to the south and right of it.
Oh, so this is in the newer part of Brookside Garden.
Yes.
Okay.
This is where the butterfly garden is, and the lighted garden.
Oh, no, I've been there many times. I just don't know which building we're looking at.
Okay.
And the spaces for parking?
There's 178.
Yes, but there's also always lots of people at Brookside Garden for the gardens,
How many, you don't have here how many square feet. It doesn't
Especially
appear
on
to
the
me.
weekend.
especially on the weekends.
A capacity 110 people. What is that?
It's a good-sized room. I was out there very quickly, Jackie, and I didn't measure, but the capacity is for 110 people. I have a photo of the.
So we get
That's the
our
room.
people in and say we are 15. It could take 95 more people coming in. Is that what that means? Standing
We have a contract.
Yes.
next to each other, shoulder to shoulder.
I think it represents how many people can be seated.
Could be seated.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
And there is room to shelter if we had a line at this location. There is room to shelter them in the outer area of this room. There's
Is there a
corners.
cost to it?
Pardon?
Is there a cost?
Yeah.
Yes,
Cost.
there is a cost to this,
How much?
and that will have to be discussed.
How much?
Well, I can go get the rate sheet, but since it is a park of planning, I'll have to discuss that with the people that.
Oh, I think it was
We,
I know. I was-
once we
But I don't
heard,
think-
just so you know, once we heard that what had happened. What I instructed Chris to do was to review what materials that we looked at previously and pull together for this board meeting so that you knew what's out there.
problem.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, when we go into executive session, you can certainly advise us on what your thinkings are, but I just wanted you to know what is in the community that we're aware of based on trying to put something together quickly. Yes?
I would just say for future reference that the email that described this problem did not go to all board members. I would have had plenty of time over the weekend to drive past all these places, look at all these places, look at the parking,
Who
you know,
got
et cetera.
It just went, we looked, you must have
You said,
erred and just, it didn't go to all the board.
I apologize.
so,
I
so.
Because the follow-up
Yeah.
did go to everybody that
No,
had the
only
information
the only
about
thing
it.
we got was the information about the ceremony for the closing of the library. That was the only thing that I got.
I apologize.
You know, so all I'm saying is that I personally, in order to decide something like this, would at the very least want to have an opportunity to look at the alternatives, and probably would want to get some feedback from the public, because this was a very significant issue to a lot of people.
I think that also,
and,
I'm
you know.
concerned, I agree with you, And I'm concerned about parking at the fire station. I
There
think
is
that's
none.
That's a vital piece that we
Jackie,
don't
Mike just
have.
got some information.
I just checked on the parking issue. They're working with the adjacent lot owners to make sure.
Who is?
Department of General Services.
Well,
To see
I-
what
I
would be
suggest
available.
They're working on it.
There's a
Get-
list of
Get
things
them to
that
make spaces.
That we are
available.
required to have.
that are required, as this board knows.
Oh,
that's
yes.
required
Right.
by COMAR.
Right,
And obviously, Chris has not had the opportunity to go through
Right.
each location and
Right.
go through and provide that information.
right,
So until that's been done, I don't know
right.
that there can be really any action.
Well, I'll just remind the board that there was no early voting site that received more comment and people coming in person to testify at our open meeting on the early voting sites than the Wheaton site. And so for this to happen and just be dealt with in this blasé manner without board input is really shocking.
Executive session.
Okay, all right. We're done with the
Yeah, we'll go into
presentation.
executive session.
There's two more items that need to be discussed, and Margie Rohr is going to handle them, the canvas schedule, then the early voting assignments.
So, now that we've had that discussion, we're gonna just go down and we're gonna have a nice peaceful conversation before we go into executive session. I can't remember, Lisa will remind me, I think in your advance packet, I included a list of all 10 early voting locations. I do need to know who's gonna be at what location at the beginning and at the end. The only person who doesn't have to tell me where they're going to be at the beginning is Jim, because he must be at Silver Spring for the media kickoff.
Okay.
I must be an executive.
They're gonna miss me.
I know, I know.
Maybe they won't.
You want for both again? Okay.
Yes, please.
I'll do Silver Spring.
For
You have
both?
to do Silver
Yeah.
Spring, don't you?
Okay, yes, David.
Can I get Lawton Center?
Oh, who, that's what I want.
Lawton Center.
Which one?
Potomac.
Sure.
Wait a minute, I can only write one thing at a time. You said shore to Potomac?
I said sure. S-U-R-E.
Just don't go to S-H-O-R-E.
Jackie, you're gonna do Potomac.
You're gonna do Wheaton?
Hold on, just let her think.
Who?
I want to think.
Gracie.
What?
Gracie's doing it.
I
Okay.
can't do, I guess I'll do Boar Park.
Or Park.
Which one are you?
Oh,
Executive?
Hmm?
okay.
We're not gonna have
You
enough.
need someone tough there, right?
All right, and then
Yeah, exactly. I think you qualify.
I will contact Alex and ask him what his preference is of the remaining locations, and then I'll put this out to everybody in email filled
We're
out.
still gonna be 3 short, right? How does that
Staff
work?
will fill in.
Yeah.
Senior staff will fill in for that. Okay. Then the next thing that you did not get in
Oh,
advance.
which one Alex is going?
I'll call him and ask him what he wants of the ones that are left.
So I'm sorry,
He wanted
who,
to go to Chevy Chase.
I'm doing
But ask him.
what?
Okay.
He's doing Chevy Chase.
Okay, no, I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So,
I'm not saying he said he wanted to go, but if he's going for,
It
select
used to be
something
when
that.
you had two board members, because David and I went to Bauer Drive and
Yeah, that was
sat
back,
3
that was
hours.
back when there were
We
only
only
five.
had,
That's when we only had five.
We
But
had
I-
more-
but-
we had
but
more
I-
boards
But I
than-
remember it fondly also.
which one are you doing?
I'm doing Potomac. I'm gonna go right over to Hunter's Inn for lunch.
all right. So, the next thing is to distribute the tentative board meeting calendar for the primary election. Those of you who have been here for an election are familiar with this. This is what we did last time. What I am asking you all to do is to take this home. Don't want to take up any more meeting time with this. Take this home, look at your schedules, look at the dates. If there are times when you are not available, send me an email and let me know what those times are. And if I could get that email from you all by next Friday, which is April 1st, then I will put this together and send it out. And that will give Jim and Margaret and Allison the tool to know where they might have shortages for the canvas. Okay, so if you could just check your schedule and get back to me by next Friday.
Like there's some, like the election day equipment verification, is that something a board member goes to?
Well, we're gonna talk about, we
What's-
talked about it a little bit earlier downstairs about how on April 8th, that would be when you do the public demonstration that's coming up, that we could go over the equipment at that time.
And so that would take out April 8th at 5:30 and also whatever the other one was.
I'm sorry.
Correct? Is that correct, Margaret?
So instead of, okay, as I said, originally we traditionally did the early voting check, but we can't because we don't have all the paper ballots. And we just received the other, what you saw last Friday, so we haven't had time to assemble anything. So what I was going to suggest is that we do, when we do the public test, well, actually, it's not even a test any longer. It's just a demonstration of what was conducted at 10 a.m. to not even bother to have the primary supply bag and equipment verification on at 5:30, just right after the public test requirements. We just go in and go through what has been packed, so that you can see what's in the red bag, in the orange bag, in the green bag, in the blue bag.
Is
And
that 10 a.m. to noon?
it'll
Yes.
probably be more like 10 a.m. to almost.
So we can give you like hourly chunks on
Yeah.
certain,
And just so it's clear, for the canvas, we need 4 board members at the canvas.
4, so that has changed.
So that's,
but like April 29th, 10 to 7. In the past, what if the board members say, I can be there from like 10 to 2?
April when?
Well, just, for example, April
Yeah,
29th,
in
it says
the
10 to
past-
7.
In the past, if we've had to break it into chunks, we have. What we've tried to do is just find out who can be there and who can't. So if you've got a conflict from 10 to 2, then you send it back to me and say, on April 29th, I can't be there from 10 to 2. And then we figure out whether we've got a problem or not. All board members obviously aren't needed for the entire day.
Right.
And we're also not sure how long the canvas will take, how many days will be involved. So this first run-through is just to get a sense of what your calendars currently show, when you could not be here if you were needed.
And what's
Then
the
we'll work
requirement?
everything out
What's the
later.
re- what's the re-
4 board members.
And 4, but 1 from the opposite party?
Correct.
And April 15th, Election Day equipment verification, do we take that off too?
Yeah, you might as well, because there's.
And that includes Jackie and Gracie, right?
What are we taking off
Yes.
here?
We're taking off the evening of the 8th and the afternoon of the 15th.
So April 8th at 5:30, you don't need anybody, correct?
That's correct, because we're gonna
But you
do
need
the
us to stay
equipment
till 1 in the morning.
on
And
the,
April 15th, she doesn't need us either.
Correct.
And April 15th at 4:30, you
Is
don't
out.
need us.
And
Is
for
out.
the public testing, does that require 3 or 4?
it doesn't require any board members.
Okay, but you're also rolling supply
Okay.
bag and equipment verification into that.
So it's
No,
optional.
April 8th, 10 to noon, you don't need anybody?
Some boards don't have their board members.
April 8th, 10 to noon, you don't need anybody?
April 10th,
No,
it
April
would be
April
at
8th.
10 o'clock.
yeah.
We are going to have a explanation of what happens when we prepare all of the voting equipment. And we will explain the steps that we go
I
through.
don't see April.
And the
Friday.
only thing that we will be able to demonstrate is the I Love Maryland ballot. In the past, those board members that have been participants, we did the parallel testing. That's abolished.
So April 8th, you don't need us.
No,
Do in the morning, 10 to noon.
if somebody has to show up, at least 2 people need to show up so that I can show you what's in the equipment.
I see.
Yeah, it goes pretty.
So you need at least 2.
Yes.
Need 2 board members, not 4.
Do you
It
need
said
to
needs
know
3.
now? I'll be one.
I'll be
Okay.
one.
Okay. Again, what I am requesting
You want it in writing, I
is
understand.
to have you all send me dates
Right.
when you are not
Right.
able to be here.
Right.
Just not.
Yes. And then we will go from there.
I'm I just wanted to add, Kevin and I had a good conversation about this, and if we only have 4 board members at any particular time and someone has something come up, any kind of emergency that comes up, then we have a problem. So that it's obviously to our benefit for as many of us to be here as much as we can to avoid that problem.
Which again
Yeah.
plays into if we know who can't be here, then we know who we can call if we have an emergency.
Now, let's talk about emergency.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay?
Good.
By April 1st, please.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay.
so we should send it to everybody, though, at the same time?
No, just respond to me, and then I'll put everything together, and then I will
She
send
then
it out
gives
to
us a
everybody.
chart that shows
Okay.
everything
Then
to
if
us.
there's a hole, you know, a
Okay,
gaping
so just
hole,
back to you.
that she
Yes,
can say,
please.
hey, folks.
Okay, Margie, thanks.
Okay. Now we need to go into executive session.
Yes.
Could
Do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Hold on.
10-minute break, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Go ahead, Margaret.
5-minute break?
Sure.
Sure.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
Wait, we need to.
Make a motion?
Go to
Yes.
the, yeah, I move, we go to executive
Session.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're back in
Go
public
ahead.
session. Is there any other business to discuss? If not,
Margie, is there anything I forgot?
No.
do we have a move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.